Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Mastering Runeterra podcast. My name's Jason Florent, aka Jay. I stream Runeterra every day over at Twitch. I make YouTube videos, and my illustrious co-host, Bay, I think he, won something recently. What was that?
Seasonals, I believe, yeah.
Seasonals, North America Seasonal 2 champion, right? If you've heard of that little thing, he's okay.
All right. So on this podcast, we're going to talk a lot about improving as a player. The main goal is to form a community and bring people up to the next level, be it you a bronze player who wants to hit gold for the first time, a plat player who wants to hit masters for the first time, or a masters player that's looking to break into the tournament scene. We're hoping to foster a community to really just bring everybody up. So that's the focus of what we're going to do here.
That's right. All the way from bronze, all the way up to winning at seasonals.
Yep.
It's my turn next.
1 week, guaranteed.
In 1 week, money back guarantee. Please read the fine print. No money back guarantees will be honored.
Nope.
And so to do that, how are we doing that? Well, one, we got this podcast coming out where we're going to be talking about all the best decks to be climbing the ladder. Got to get up, qualify for seasonal every single week. And then we also have started a Patreon. That's going to be kind of a bit of a team, basically, where we're going to bring people together. There's a bunch of different tiers, all the way from the very bottom tier. It's like $2 a month. If you just want to support us making great content, come be part of the Discord. Our Discord channel is actually open to everyone. The next tier up is a $5 tier. We're going to be doing weekly calls with everyone in this tier and above, where we discuss, what the metagame's looking like, answer people's questions, let them know kind of what decks we're playing at the moment, what decks we think they should be playing. And then after that, we're also going to be doing a 1 hour learning stream where either myself or Bay will be streaming some games and everyone can ask questions that we discuss, or someone from the team, the community, can stream some of their gameplay. We can help them do some laddering. Same thing. We all learn together. We also have a $15 a month tier that's going to be a more competitive focus. We're going to have a private channel where if you want to be, preparing for seasonals or other tournaments, that's kind of the place to be. All the way up to some higher tiers. If you want some one-on-one coaching from one of us, go check it out. The link to that will be in the description or the show notes.
We got some really cool stuff in there. I'm really excited about one of the tiers. We have VOD reviews. So our patrons can submit a VOD every month where we break it down either on stream or we'll record it and we can give you detailed analysis and everything. And then if you want to, we can post it on the channel's YouTube channel for other people to learn from. But I think it'll be really helpful. I wish I had that kind of stuff. When I was trying to get better at Magic or Runeterra, because I feel like once you hit a plateau, you don't know how to improve. You don't know what you're missing until someone can tell you hey, maybe you should consider this here. And then you go, oh, that's a really good point, right? And then you can start doing that. And I think that's just great. It's just very, very helpful.
Totally nailed it. We're very excited to get it going. So come drop by, say hello, let us know, what you liked about this podcast, what you think we could do better, all that good stuff. Okay, with all that said, let's jump into it. The meat of the actual Mastering Runeterra podcast is talking about the ladder, the metagame. Man, everything is upside down. We just got Shurima, brand new set, over 100 new cards. They're just new decks galore. It's a wild, wild west out there. Bay, what are your hot takes? What do you think's working right now? What are the decks you're most excited about? What do you think is really crushing?
So right now, the ones that I've kind of had my eye on are the Azir Lucian, aggressive deck. I really like that with the Emperor's Dais, I believe it is the 2-mana landmark that makes a Sand Soldier when you attack. That combined with Dune Keeper, the 2-1 that makes another Sand Soldier. Rally cards in Lucian, flips Lucian like that. And these Sand Soldiers just keep giving you so much pressure that it's really hard for any I suppose board-based strategies to compete, because if I don't have things that can profitably block, if I'm playing a mostly creatureless control deck, all these Sand Soldiers are going to be hitting me for at least 2. Azir flips, in his sleep. The man flips just easy peasy.
So fast.
Yeah, so fast. It's absurd. I like the deck. Now whether it's gonna be good in 2 weeks, we're not sure because this is week one. Everyone's playing nonsense. But right now, that's probably what's been doing the best on ladder outside of the pre-established, already good decks, right? Like, yes, we know TF is a good deck. It's going to continue to be a good deck. But if you're looking for newer strategies, I really like that one.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of like it's almost like, it reminds me of a like a zombie horde coming for you. Like these tokens just keep getting generated just
Never
every
stops.
turn. Yeah, it never stops. There's just more and more. And like you were saying, even if you do have blockers for them, like your creatures are just constantly getting worn down if you're not just taking the damage, yourself directly. So there's been a lot of different people trying to figure out how to use Azure the best.
Azir.
So there's like a Azir, sorry. And there's a bunch of different takes on it. So like you mentioned, Lucian is one of them. Obviously he flips really fast. I've seen some with Hecarim.
Yes.
I think there's been some Elise versions. There's all kinds of versions. Which ones do you think have been performing the best, or have you tried any of them?
Yeah, I've tried all of them except the Elise version, but it's very similar to the Hecarim version. The Hecarim ones just goes a little bigger. I think the Lucian one probably has the most raw power. It's also the fastest. There's like a super all-in Elise one that you could play, but the Shadow Isles versions are more reliant on Shark Chariot, which has more staying power, but is a little slower. You don't have like the I'm rallying three times a turn that Lucian does. And Demacia gives you access to scouts, which is really powerful when you get multiple creatures every single time you attack. But yeah, you get Shark Chariot, you get things like Hecarim, and more ephemerals in Shadow Isles. So it mostly comes down to preference. Depending on how the meta shakes up, we'll see which ends up being on top. But right now, I would have to say the Lucian version is probably the best one to go with.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I hadn't thought about that combination with the scouts being able to attack twice, activating
really good, yeah.
just even more tokens.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, that's silly. That's awesome. Yeah, I've run into that deck quite a few times. I've been doing the no fun, just play like Go Hard or TF Fizz. TF Fizz, I've been getting blown out. Man, TF Fizz was not having a good time with the go wide strategies. They have like a really tough time.
It's hard to keep up. You have to like burble fish them out on like turn 6 or something.
Yeah, you need something real aggressive. Even just like one red card from a Twisted Fate, not quite enough. It just keeps coming. What else? What else have you been seeing outside of like those aggro strategies?
Well, outside of the aggro strategies, I've been playing a lot of Lysandra Trundle, which is really good. Yeah, it's a Freljord Shadow Isles control deck with like the Ledros Atrocity finisher. There's a lot of different ways to play it right now, but I think the one that issues the 1-mana landmark that makes the 8/8, I can't remember the name. It's like something throne, or I don't remember, but the one that Lysandra makes, right?
That one,
and then
yeah.
the 4/5 can like speed up. I cut those cards. I don't like them. I think they're like pretty good. Maybe if you're in like the Shurima version with like Talia and you're copying stuff, that's probably where you want to be. But in the Freljord version, I mean the Shadow Isles version, excuse me. I feel like I need the cards. Like if my opponent's playing a bunch of stuff and I just play a 1-mana do nothing for 8 turns and then he casts Lucian and just beats my ass, like I'm gonna be missing the actual cards that do something. So I cut them and I've been having a lot of success with that. It's actually what I'm bringing to Fight Night tonight of the night of recording. So yeah, hopefully it goes well. Essentially, you just play Lysandra, you play Trundle, you get the free 8-mana thing, right? Which you play, and that triggers Lysandra's level up. Like that's 1. And then you play Ledros, or you make the 8/8 Overwhelm from the Lysandra card. And that flips Lysandra, you get Watcher, then you either atrocity them in the face, or you get to the point where you play Watcher and win that way. So it's like a really strong control deck strategy. Lots of different ways to build it. We'll see what ends up being the best.
Yeah, totally. I really like that. I've played against that deck a bunch, and like you mentioned, they end up with like the 4/5 in play, or like they don't even get a chance to make the 8/8, or like once they do, either like it didn't matter because either I'm killing them already or they're killing me already, and it like the 8/8 just didn't matter.
Yeah.
So those cards were just always kind of just sitting around, never very impressive.
Yeah. Or you're at 20 because you're playing against Lysandra, right? So like they attack you for 8, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Exactly. Take it.
You got me.
Yeah, like 2 more
Yeah.
turns.
Hmm.
Totally. So yeah, that's exciting. I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on how you do with your version in Fight Night, because I think the deck's been impressive already with those cards in it. And I
Strong.
think yeah,
Strong.
when you
Yeah.
slim it down, that's gonna
Yeah.
be hot.
The problem with a control deck, though, this early in the meta, is that you have no idea what you're going to play against. So you don't know what kind of cards to bring. Do I need more ruination effects? Are 3 vengeance necessary? Are frostbites even good? Like these kind of things you just don't know. Which is why early in seasons I prefer to play more proactive decks like the Azir decks. Um, because there's that like old magic saying where it's like there's no wrong threats, only wrong answers, and that's kind of how it shakes out. Like all right, there's all these go wide strategies, and god damn it, I packed 3 vengeances, so now I'm just going to lose to them. But if you know that the meta is mostly go wide strategies, then you're teching. You have 3 avalanches, 3 of the blighted ravines. You're playing 2 ice shards as well. Like you're here to just wipe boards and win games. Um, so while it's super powerful, I think it will only get better in the meta once we figure out what you're actually playing against.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why you see aggressive strategies do well early on, right?
Mm-hmm.
For that
Yeah.
exact reason, you can just go guy, and like hopefully
Can you
if your
deal with
opponent,
this? No. Oh,
yeah,
you're
can you?
dead.
Okay, it's done. Game over.
Hmm.
And what's the other deck that you're bringing? Is it an old deck or something new?
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to bring one new deck and then one like old tried and true. So I brought Twisted Fate Aphelios because it's just dummy good. Deck's stupid. you
It's
know,
just good.
Aphelios Boxopus, still good. Like, shocker, right? Yeah, with like the 3 pick of cards and everything. I literally just took my list from like qualifying from seasonals, like my open seasonals list, and just copied the code and posted it. Like
Yeah.
that's it. I didn't even like open it. I think I'm running 3 hush, which is probably 1 hush too many in the current scene, but whatever.
We'll see. We'll see. Tournament scene's a little bit different.
Yes.
Mentioning old decks. One of the things that myself and I think probably a lot of other people probably did when they were looking at the new cards is like I at least was looking for like new decks, mostly like new
Mhm.
exciting decks. What was going to be new? One thing I didn't do too much of was try to see how these cards would sort of slot into existing decks.
Mhm.
And nothing really jumped out at me. I mean, there must be something there, like 110 cards. There's got to be,
Mhm.
you would think something that goes somewhere. I guess most of them are in the new region. And so that kind of
Yeah,
disqualifies
so
them.
it's
There's
tough,
only,
right? Yeah.
yeah, there's only
Mhm.
so many that are in other regions. But like, was there anything that you saw that you were kind of like, oh, this could go in this existing archetype? And like, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
couple cards for the deep, but like, yeah, anything that jumped
Mhm.
out?
Yeah, there's a few things actually. I built a couple of decks that I like kind of enjoyed a lot. I built like a Karina control deck with concurrent timelines. Um, and that
Mm,
was cool, where you play concurrent timelines and then you play Ledros. The trigger goes on the stack, and then you flip Ledros into Dreadway and just kill them. It just doubles the damage and they just die. And I was like, haha, funny meme, right? And then I won 8 games in a row. And I was like, um,
yeah.
maybe
So
this is good.
So for anyone that might not know, can you explain the each card piece by piece? So
Okay,
concurrent
okay, okay.
timelines,
Yeah,
how's
yeah.
that work?
So concurrent timelines, 1 mana slow speed spell. The first follower you play every turn, you get to choose a follower that it transforms into of the same mana cost. So if I cast a 2 mana card, I can turn it into Bright Steel Protector, even though I
From
don't have
all
Bright
of
Steel Protector.
Runeterra, right? It just picks three
Yeah, from the whole
random
thing. Yeah,
from all of
not
Runeterra.
celestial cards, but any card you can put into your deck, you can turn into a follower.
Not
No
right.
chance. Yeah. So then Ledros, obviously 9 mana, big dude, cool voice line, hits the field, halves your opponent's health, and then Dreadway doubles all damage dealt by skills and allies and stuff and spells. So if you play Ledros and his half health goes on the stack, and then you flip him into a Dreadway who doubles the damage, it just deals their whole life total. I've killed quite a few people from 20 on turn 9. So I was playing that, and I played it in like a Karina shell, um, and just a bunch of spells and then Karina. And I ended up cutting Karinas and moving away from the all spells and going into like a value follower archetype where I play a lot of things like the new 3/1 that makes it the prey, the 0/1, blighted caretaker that makes the 2 ephemerals, things like that. Because you play them, you get their enter the battlefield effect, and then you flip it into something that has bigger stats or is more relevant with like a better keyword on it, like tough or elusive or something. So you play Caretaker, get your 2/1 ephemeral challengers, and then you flip them into like the Badger, the 3/4, and now your board's nuts, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's more of a concurrent timelines deck, less than have like a Karina deck with a concurrent timelines finish, but you still keep the atrocity, the Ledros into Dreadway thing at the top end. It's been working really well. Not tuned at all, but keep your eye on it. It's very fun.
Right. So it's like a value deck of just like some good stuff, and then also with like a combo finish
And then
potentially.
also sometimes I just kill you on turn 9.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
happens if you don't
Uh-huh.
draw concurrent timelines? Like, how reliant is the deck on that card?
Less than you'd think. Like the cards you put in don't suck. Well, okay. I put in the Chempunk Shredder, the 5 mana 5/2 that deals 1 to all your opponent's stuff. Okay, that card sucks, but the rest of them are pretty good. They're just like good cards on their own, right? These are cards that like have seen play for a long time. Like Blighted Caretakers are a good card. I'm playing 3 copies of Doom Beast, which is super solid. Um, and I'm playing the new Spirit Leech or something, the 4/1 for 4 that you like glimpse beyond one of your units. You play it, sacrifice something, draw 2 cards. Like that's so good. I play it, sacrifice something that I don't care about, like one of the Elise Spiders or the Prey. Draw 2 cards and flip it into the 4/4 Dragon with Fury or something, right? And even if I don't have concurrent timelines, like it's still a good card. And so yeah, you don't really need to find concurrent timelines ever. And then even if you don't, you still have Ledros on 9. It's still pretty good. Even if
Yeah.
you're not just killing them.
Yeah, interesting. That's like probably the deck that I'm gonna go play with next. Do you think that it has
Mhm.
potential to be like, you're saying it's untuned and stuff. Like, does it have potential to be tier one, or is it like a little too memes, a little too RNG? Like, where is it
Um,
actually at power wise?
Probably tier 2. I think it's gonna be like a pretty solid tier 2, which is pretty good. And it's good, it's strong. Your Ledros combo is interruptible. If they like Vengeance your Dreadway or Hush It or whatever, then you don't get the kill.
Right.
But you still like Ledros them, right? And then you play Kindred instead of Vi as your second champion. It's the least Kindred. And so Kindred gives you some more staying power, which is nice, if you don't have like the combo. It's good. I don't think it will be tier 1, but it's better than people think.
Interesting. What are like some of the like better matchups for it, or bad matchups? Like, could it be maybe a
Hmm.
tournament deck? 'Cause there's a lot of decks that are not great on the ladder, but then end up being really good in tournaments.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The best tournament decks tend to have either extremely even matchups across the board or very polarizing ones, which is different on ladder, right? On ladder, you usually want something that like is good into most things and not very good maybe into a couple, like Go Hard, for example. But in tournaments, you want something that's good against everything, but not like fantastic, maybe like TFF Helios. Or you want something that absolutely smashes 4 decks, right? And your plan is just to beat those 4 decks, like Soraka Kench or Timo Ezreal. And I think this deck, it has the possibility to be one of those decks, but you would have to probably build it a different way for your expected tournament meta. So we'll see. Just keep your eye on it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just want concurrent timelines to be good so badly. That's like my favorite
it's
card, I
it's
think,
fun.
from the
Yeah,
new set.
I'm gonna
Cool.
lose to a concurrent timelines deck just from them high rolling like 3 units in a row, and I'll be like, all right, I'm tired of this. But for now, I really like it.
I'm over it. I'm done.
Yeah,
Stupid
just
card
suck.
RNG.
Who won't play this crap anymore? We go back to
Freaking Riot.
Hearthstone.
Okay. What else? What else is hot from the new set before we talk about some ladder picks and stuff?
So there's the Mono Shurima, which is not very good, unfortunately. I mean, we have 2 more like sets, like expansions coming out with more Shurima cards, so it will only get better. But my God, I was like, all right, this deck probably sucks. And then my opponent, the first 2 games I played of the new expansion were against Mono Shurima, and they both level 3'd Azir and Renekton on turn 6 against me. They played Sundisk into Azir, into Renekton, into the 7 mana card that levels things up, leveled up both of them to level 2, finished their Sun Disc, and leveled them both up to level 3, and then attacked me and killed me. And I was like, oh, damn, maybe this is good. Spoiler alert, it's not. But but they got pretty lucky. What I have been playing that is like I'm not sure if it's good yet. I don't think it's that good, but it could be very good. Is Kever and I have been running like an all-in Shurima Lee Sin deck where you only run Lee Sin and then you run like the 0 mana right that you can sacrifice a dude or a gem to find a champ. So you just always find Lee Sin. And then you play like Preservarium, the landmark that draws you cards. You play the 3 mana landmark that gets you the 2 0 mana cards that give you like an ability. You know which one I'm talking about? It's like Lucky
Yeah.
Find, but it's the landmark. Yeah, you
Yeah,
play
yeah.
that, you play through Lucky Find. Fun fact. Uh, if you play Lucky Find and then you play the stat card, or whatever, it counts as 3 spells for 2 mana.
Yes. So explain this to me. Kevin was shout out Kevin24, by the way. Our one of our testing partners, an absolute fucking crusher. So he was one telling us about this. So I don't get it. You cast these 2 spells, but somehow it counts for 3. Why does that second spell that gives the ability count as 2 spells? Is it a bug? Is it how it's supposed to work?
No, I think it's how it's supposed to be because like I think it's called. Hold on, actually, let me Google it so I can give you guys the correct names. So you cast the first spell, Lucky Find, right? And then it gives you another spell.
Lucky finds the landmark. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Lucky Find's a 0 mana card. So you cast. Shoot, what is the 2 mana one? It's 2 mana burst, and it literally says give you a Lucky Find. So you cast that, and that's 1 spell. And then you cast Lucky Find, and Lucky Find's 2 spells. And Lucky Find says pick a buff from among 3 to grant an ally. But the way it's built is that all of those buffs are separate cards, right? So when you click it, you have the 3 to pick from, like if you're invoking a Celestial. And when you pick one, it just casts that on your unit, which is the 3rd spell. So Kever and I have lethaled people on like turn 5 from Lee Sin flips. It's disgusting.
Okay. So how do you kill them on turn 5? And also, what are the abilities that you can choose from to give it? Are they just always the same 3, or like what do you get to choose from?
It's a pool of, I think it's a pool of like 14 or some number close to that. You can get like +0/+2, +1/+1, +2/0, first strike, overwhelm. That one's important. Tough. You need all those kinds of keywords, spell shield, these kind of things, right? So essentially what you do is you just like build up your hand to where you have a Lee Sin in hand, which is not hard because you run like essentially 5 copies. You have Preservarium, and then the turn before you Lee Sin, you play the 3 mana landmark that gives you the 2 Lucky Finds. And then you play Lee Sin, you cast the 2 Lucky Finds, that counts as 6 spells, or no, sorry, that counts as 4 spells. And then you can cast a 2 mana one, that counts as 3 spells. So if you cast 1 spell after that or before, that's 8. You flipped him, and then you play the new 1 mana burst spell that gives something +3/+1 if you have played a landmark at like any time in the game. Which, by the way, on Lee Sin is wild for 1 mana. And then you pick like overwhelm +2/+0 +1/+1, and then you play that and you attack and you just kill them and the game's over.
Wow.
Yes. Now if they cast like frostbite, you just cry. But if they don't, you can just win.
Easy game. There are no wrong answers, or there are no wrong threats, right?
There's no wrong threats, just wrong answers.
Okay, so what do you think though? You're losing out on a lot of the what is it? The not Ionia, the Targon cards, which is a lot of the deck.
You're missing the gems, the Sparkle Flies, the goats. Pale Cascade and Guiding Touch are really important for the deck because they give you like free cycle and spells for Lee. Now, this like Targon Lee is a much more balanced deck, but the Shurima one just does its thing faster. Shurima Lee is like, it's a combo deck. It's not like a tempo deck that has a combo finish like the Targon one. It's here to combo kill you with Lee Sin. And if I'm not combo killing you with Lee Sin, I'm probably not winning the game. Now, you don't have to have the combo kill per se. Like the overwhelm kick is what I refer to as the combo kill. You can just level up Lee Sin on turn 5 or 6 and then kick 3 things and eventually kill them. But it's much more all in. So if the meta is a lot more reactive, then you probably want to be on the Targon Lee Sin. But if it's a lot more linear, then the Shurima Lee Sin is probably better because it just does its thing faster. And if you're not planning on reacting to my thing no matter what I do, then I want the fastest, strongest thing possible.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying the Targon traditional Lee Sin has a little bit more staying power, but one of the big weaknesses of that deck was kind of go wise strategies, overly aggressive strategies. Sometimes maybe you couldn't find a Lee, so if you're under too much pressure, that could be an issue. So this new version, like you're saying, can combo quite quickly, which seems like it would be pretty good if you're up against like an aggro strategy where you could outrace them potentially. So how does it deal with like those aggro strategies, like like a discard aggro or a pirates or something of that nature?
So it essentially deals with them how all combo decks deal with aggro decks is you kind of like you try to stop them from like doing their thing too early. So you have like the 1 mana thing that makes a clockling after like 2 turns. And you play the 2-drop with Predict, the Aspiring Chronomancer. I'm currently running 3 of Tasty Fey Folk, and you like play these just to like not die, right?
Tasty Fey
Just
Folk.
don't die. Yeah, dude.
Nice.
Tasty Fey Folk, when you could slam 4 buffs on it on turn 4 or whatever, is like not the worst card on the planet.
Doing some work.
Yes, exactly. You got your first strike 8/6 Tasty Fey Folk coming in hot. But yeah, so you play these cards to like not die, and then yeah, your deck's really fast. But my deck just takes you to 20, can just take you from 20 to 0 on turn 5 or 6, like a lot of the time. Because you're not going to, if you're playing pirates, you're not interacting with me. Your interaction is throwing your people at my face with Noxian Fervor. That's your interaction.
Yeah.
And sometimes block you. But like, so yeah, if you're not going to interact with me, the more powerful and faster that I can be, the better. But if you're going to interact with me, I want that staying power. If we're going to trade cards back and forth, winning via tempo or card advantage is a lot more viable.
Interesting. Okay. So riddle me this then. Just how fragile is the deck? Like if you're running into something with some hushes and some flash freezes, like are you just like, oh man, it's over, like they're gonna stop me 1 or 2 times and like I'm gonna run out of gas? Or does it have like a little bit of staying power? And also is this deck legit? Like is it like, could it be tier 1, or is it like a little too, is it like still kind of memey?
Well, right now it's a little memey. I think the numbers are a bit off. The Tasty Fey Folk was like a really good addition, actually. Even though it looks stupid every time I see it in deck lists. But yeah, I think the deck needs probably a few more Shurima cards. It does have some staying power. You do get the copies of Deny. You have Deep Meditation. Your Preservariums, like the Preservariums keep your hand filled. I often go into my like combo turn with 10 cards in hand.
Wow.
And the problem is I'm trying to get cards out of my hand so I can get more of the buffs, the Lucky Finds. Because if that landmark comes off cooldown and I have 9 cards in my hand, I'm only getting 1, and I'm missing the card I'm supposed to draw this turn. Plus, you have the denies. You could run Notifies if you want. I recently cut them because I don't think it's very good right now, but you can run them. And then you get the new Hourglass card, the 2 mana Zonya's Hourglass. It's not called Zonya's Hourglass, but that's what I call it. Where you like turn something into a landmark for 1 turn, and then it comes back. Do you remember what that card's called?
No, how's it work?
So I'll try to find it. Oh,
one unit, right?
Yeah, 1 unit. Yeah, it's the 2 mana fast speed spell, and it turns your guy into like a statue, a landmark for 1 turn, and then it comes back after that as an exact copy. And so if you go Vengeance Release in, I go, okay, well now he's a landmark, and then he's coming back next turn, and we're gonna try this again. And so yeah, also you can get Spell Shield with your Lucky Finds and stuff. So often I'll grab like +2/+0 and Spell Shield or something if I can't find Overwhelm, and then all of a sudden they need a lot more flash freezes and hushes to deal with it. And it doesn't, like, hush and flash freeze don't deal with it, right? If you're not putting me on a clock, I just get to try again next turn. And if I'm starting on turn 6 and you're running flash freeze and hush in your deck, or flash freeze or hush, you're probably not that proactive anyway. So I'm probably going to get another try and more looks to find Spell Shield and stuff like that. So it has some staying power, and it's not like, okay, oops, I'm all in. Like, hopefully you don't have a spell. It's better than that. Um, but it's certainly not as good at interacting as the Targon version.
I mean, from everything you're saying, it sounds amazing. You're talking about like killing on turn 6. I got 10 cards in hand. So what are the downsides? Like, what are the weaknesses? Like, why not play this deck? Or what are you losing to?
Sometimes it just doesn't quite work out. Sometimes your lucky finds find things that are less lucky than you would like. You're like, all right, sick. My Lee Sin's got first strike and fearsome. Yeah. And sometimes they just like they have one or two like answers, maybe like a hush or a flash freeze or quicksand. Or you just can't present lethal and they're just going around you. Like the Azir Lucian deck, I don't think I would call it a good matchup right now. The Tasty Fey folk help a lot, but like if I can't kill you with my Lee Sin on like turn 6 or 7, you're probably just gonna beat me. You're just gonna cast your things and you're just gonna attack, and I'm gonna block with my Lee or Fey folk or whatever, and then you're gonna rally and you're gonna attack again. And you're kind of just gonna just throw things at me until I die. And if I can't get that like combo kill, I can't build up a board that can deal with it. Like the Targon version can like mentor a Sparklefly and just win the game off that. This deck doesn't have that option.
So it just doesn't have like a backup plan then?
No, you're killing people with Lee Sin or you're losing the game.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see how that would be a real issue. Like you have 5 technically Lee Sins as you can search now with the new tutor. Yeah. But I mean, even with 5, sometimes you miss, or like sometimes you just, there is a cost for that tutor. Also, if you don't have a unit in play, you can't afford to stack a gem. So it's not like it's just free. Even with a Nivea, like with a Nivea, you play the
you play the 2 treats and you still can't find.
Yeah, you still can't find sometimes.
Better card selection. You have like 5 predict cards. You have like the Preservarium that's like a divination or think twice or whatever. Drawing 2. So you see a lot of cards, but sometimes it just doesn't like work out well. Sometimes they're able to kill your Lee Sin and then you're like set back a couple turns, and sometimes you get unlucky on your lucky finds. Like it's definitely a combo deck. It loses to itself a lot. But man, when you go off, you're like
right? Magical Christmas land.
Yeah,
that's
give it
awesome.
A shot. Give it a shot when you have a second. It's fun. It's so hard to play. Just a million
choices every turn.
Yeah, every turn you're like, okay. And like I think I've discarded the hand size more than I have ever in my life with this deck, because you have like a bunch of landmarks coming off cooldown and everything. And oh my god, great time though. Definitely play it for a couple games. See how it feels.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely, that one's like probably top of my list. I'm gonna go try after this. Those two. Okay, what else? What else is tickling your fancy with the new cards?
I mean, I've seen some Nasus stuff that was pretty cool. I was running Kindred Nasus. People were running Thresh Nasus to some success, where like your job is you just kind of control the board and slay a lot of things, and then you play Nasus and attack for 1 billion, or Atrocity Nasus. That seems to be going pretty well. I haven't played it too much though. Anything you've seen that you were kind of like,
Yeah, so like I said, I've been tryharding on the ladder the last couple days, so everyone's giving me heck for it. Whatever. But you know what? This is the thing. I'm playing the real decks. So I've been playing Go Hard. I've been playing traditional Zoe, Lee Sin, TF Fizz. Those were the 3 main ones. I also did a little discard aggro just to throw it in there, see what was going on. So what I do have is a bit of perspective on how some of these decks are performing against some of the more I don't know, traditional or standardized decks, or the decks that we had previously. And I'll say that, they've been doing pretty good. There's some good stuff.
The new decks, that is.
The new decks, yeah. I've been doing pretty well. I've been doing well with Go Hard and Lee Sin, but for both of those decks, there are some of the new decks that I feel like I can't beat. Like, it's just like, oh, this is like almost unwinnable. So for instance, with Zoe Lee against like Kindred decks, like just a nightmare.
Feels bad, yeah.
Kindred is just like ruining. Yeah. I played against Twisted Fate Kindred. Twisted Fate Kindred is the list that I've been playing against the most. I played against 3 times. The third time, I didn't really know what was going on the first 2 times. The third time, I killed 2 Kindreds with Lee, and still the third Kindred came out, and they just got me. And I was like, God, this matchup is a nightmare. And
Rough.
it was impressive to see that deck in general. The Kindred Twisted Fate deck,
like the go hard variant.
Yeah, so it's basically just go hard. I'm not you swap the lease out for a Kindred. Does a lot of silly things like barrels. What are they? What's the actual word? Like the one that increases your damage by 1.
The kegs.
Kegs. Yeah. So when they die, that activates Kindred, which is like a cute little.
Like if I go hard your unit and my keg blows up, it activates Kindred.
If you yourself have it, because it's when you. I think.
Huh.
You know what? I actually have to double check how it works. All I know is there's a combination because it's when you slay. So I think when you cast a spell and your keg blows up, you've then destroyed your keg. Yeah.
Oh.
That was my understanding. Cute stuff like that.
We're not sure.
Think. Pretty sure, not 100% though.
But just my tournament because
Jason said this is how it works. Pretty sure. Anyway, but the deck itself just very good. So I mean, the Go Hard deck was an absolute crusher a while back. It still has some staying power, and so you're basically swapping out a lease, which is a great 2-drop. You're missing a little bit of that pressure, but you have like that great late game now in Kindred. That's definitely another deck that's, because I love Go Hard so much, that deck's up there that I want to try out. Let's see, the Azure. Is it Azure? Azir. I get it wrong every time. The Azir lists, I've been a little bit less impressed with. So they're good. I don't think they're great. That's like where I'm at. Again, it's very new. People are trying out lots of things. Also, I've been playing Go Hard, which seems like kind of like a little unfair playing Withering Whales and playing Go Hards and stuff. That being said, I still lost sometimes to the deck, and I mean that should be a really good matchup. Let's see, what else have I run into? I think just most of the decks we've been talking about. Nothing too crazy. Nothing from the new set has really hit me in a way that I'm like, oh, this is like a Twisted Fate or a Felios kind of level. Things have been good, but definitely good. And definitely the meta, I think, has definitely like shifted quite a bit with all of these new decks. Playing TF Fizz, which is was maybe the best deck towards the end of last season for a little while.
Yeah,
it's really suffering quite a bit against these Azir. God, I'll get it one day.
Yeah.
These Azir decks, like they just swarm you, and with a bunch of really fast tiny units, and the TF Fizz deck just doesn't really work on that axis, and it's not quite as fast. Yeah, it doesn't allow blockers. It's a little like a couple turns slower.
You don't block with that deck.
Yeah, right.
Maybe if you have like a bot or something, but that's it.
Totally. So yeah, and also the new Freljord decks. Lysandra decks have been really good into TF Fizz as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the ladder, kind of waiting to see how things shake out. I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were. Let's talk a little bit about like if you're climbing the ladder, people listening, if they want to be climbing the ladder, they want to get up to Masters. What do you think people should be playing right now? What are the best decks for climbing?
All right, if you want to climb the ladder on like week 1, week 2 of a new set, the absolute best thing you could be doing is playing an already established deck. I know it's boring.
It is kind of boring. It is kind of boring.
You can do it. Jason does and play TF Fizz. TF Felios is probably like just the strongest like deck. So something like that, or maybe like Go Hard with Kindred if you want to keep it a little interesting. If you're looking to play new strategies and you want to climb, I would have to recommend, even though Jason doesn't, the Azir decks like Lucian Azir, Elise Azir, or Hecarim Azir. They're just strong, proactive decks, and I think proactivity in like the first couple of weeks of a new meta is where you want to be. If that's not to your style, maybe try out the Lysandra deck, the Lysandra Trundle. It's been doing very well for me.
Yeah, that's one that I want to try out that I've really struggled with a lot of the previous older decks into Lysandra. I've had troubles with all of them. Go Hard, they have everything has tough and they gain life. It's just a nightmare.
There's 6 copies of Avalanche and
6 copies of avalanches. Discard
Pretty
aggro,
good.
same issues. Just a bunch of
Oh my god, discard
avalanches.
aggro. I don't know if they can
Nightmare.
ever win that matchup, right?
Yeah. So that's definitely a good one. All those decks that you just mentioned also very fast. They have like they're pretty quick. Which when you're climbing the ladder,
Outside of Lysandra, but yeah, you
yeah.
know, if you're sorry, I made to cut you off there. Go ahead.
No, it's good. Yeah, like these year decks, really fast.
Mhm.
The Twisted Fate Fizz deck, pretty fast. Twisted Fate Aphelios was actually that you mentioned was the next one I was probably going to try climbing the ladder with, just because the deck's so
Mhm.
powerful. It's just like it
It's
has
just
game
so
against
good.
everything. There's nothing that you're like,
Everything.
yeah, you're never just out of
Mhm.
answers. But I will
Yep.
say though, what do you think of this? I feel like Aphelios games in general are just very slow. Like it's just very slow to close out a game. You're looking at 20-minute games, maybe even longer sometimes.
You win on turn 18 a lot.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
yeah. So do you think like so your win percentage it goes up theoretically, but then now your games might take twice as long. So
Mhm.
I don't know where like traditionally I always thought like play as fast as you can, play the fast decks.
Sure.
But the trade-off is real for the win percentage. If you're giving up like 10% or something, if you go from winning 60% of your games to 70%, what are your thoughts there on that trade?
I mean, obviously the math is with like if you have an aggressive deck and a non-aggressive deck, and they have the same-ish win percentage, and your sole goal is to climb as fast as possible. This is not applicable to anything else. This is only if you want to climb as fast as possible. The aggressive deck would be the better choice. Now you said, if the other deck has a much higher win percentage, should you play that? And yes, if it's a 10% win percentage difference, which is monstrous, by the
Huge.
way, like you don't see that ever. 10% is it's dumb. Like
So this okay. So this is what I think though. So I think you do see it, but the reason you'll see it like individually is because like I see it in some of my decks, but it's because I'm like much better at playing a certain deck than another deck.
Yeah.
Not because the matchups are actually like that.
No, I totally agree. Like I can't win with Feel the Rush. I can't do it. I don't know how. It just doesn't happen. The deck's pretty good, but I have like a 40% win rate with the deck.
Love Feel the Rush.
But if I play Zoe Lee, I have like a 65% win rate with the deck, which is much higher than the deck's win rate normally, right? And like Masters, if you look at the deck's win rate, I think it ended the season at like 49% or something. My win rate of 65% is a huge anomaly, but it's so much better for me to play Zoe Lee than maybe discard aggro if I'm winning 55% of the time with discard aggro, because those extra wins pile up. And you have to go from plat to masters, you have to win 40 more games than you lose, I think is how it works. Because it's like
I think so.
You have to win 5 more games, and then there's 4 ranks. So yeah. And it's much easier for me to do that with a 65% win rate than a 55% win rate, even if it takes twice as long each game, which is not really how it works. But yeah. So if you're very comfortable on a list, stick with it. Just play that. Being comfortable and knowing how to play a deck well is probably the biggest benefit you could have. And you'll see that in tournaments too, even at the highest level. Like I brought Zoe Lee to seasonals because I'm very comfortable with Lee strategies, Zoe Lee in particular. And it went very well for me because like the small decisions are so easy for me that I don't have to expend thought to deal with them. I only have to think really hard about the really hard decisions. So it saves you like I guess like mental brain power, right? And if you're looking to like grind and climb the ladder or play a long tournament, that really adds up.
It really does. Yeah. If you've played in any sort of gaming tournament that went on for like, 5 to 10 hours, whatever it may be, at the end of it, you're just drained. And you'll definitely see also your play will decrease as the day goes on, as you're not as fresh, and that drain weighs on you. So there's definitely something to be said about you playing a deck that you're very familiar with, and not having to sweat all the small details. And another thing that you mentioned that I think we should really reiterate is don't jump around decks. so much.
Mhm.
I did this at the beginning, and a lot of people do this. They're like, oh, maybe this is the deck that's going to get me there, or this is the deck that's going to get me to Masters, or this deck. And it has a lot less to do with the individual deck. Obviously, you want to be playing something that's tier 2 or above, but how well you are playing the deck makes a huge difference. So like you could take a deck like, I don't know, we'll say Lee Sin Zoe. That's a little bit more complicated, especially if you've never played a deck like that before, and you're really going to struggle. So maybe Bay will go crush the ladder with it because he's played it, a million times.
A bajillion times.
Yeah. But if you just picked it up, well, it's going to take you a while to get, up, get your win percentage up to where you want it to be, and also to be kind of cranking through games quickly. So I always tell people not to worry too much about what deck you're playing. It's more like trying to play that deck really, really well. Try to figure out, what kind of mistakes you're making. That's going to help you with your win percentage, and that's going to help you climb a lot faster.
Yeah, 100%. I'm totally with you. I am so guilty of that. I jump around decks every single time I lose a game.
Me too.
Pretty much.
Me too.
But my goal isn't to climb. My goal is to be competent with a lot of decks so that with a couple days of practice, I can have just about anything tournament ready. But that's like pretty high level stuff, right? Like if you're not planning on competing in tournaments all the time, don't worry about it. If your goal is to climb the ladder, hit Masters for the first time, or maybe even hit rank 1, just pick one deck and play it. Like I jumped around decks, and then I went, okay, I want to hit rank 1 because I think it would look good in the about section of my Twitch. Right?
Totally.
So I played Zoe Lee for like 100 games in a row. That's all I played. And I hit rank 1, and then I went, okay, time to play whatever I want now. And then dropped like 400 LP. Yeah, like you're just going to perform better with the deck that you're comfortable with and that you know how to play. That's where those edges are. Because if you're playing in like Masters or wherever, people are going to be generally the same skill level as you. If you're both in the same rank, you need to find your edges. And yeah, playing a better deck is one of the edges you can get. But like everyone's playing a good deck by the time you get into like the upward ranks. Like maybe you run across some memer. But for the most part, everyone's going to be playing strong decks. So you need to find your edges elsewhere, be it more comfortable in the matchup, understanding your deck better, or just playing your deck better than your opponent places.
Yeah, really good point. One of the things I think is, I don't know, maybe lost at first blush on Runeterra is just how deep the strategy goes. Because everyone, you can, it's like, man, Runeterra reminds me of poker so much. Because in poker, there's like a saying that's like, it takes like a minute to learn and a lifetime to master, something like that. Because you can learn the rules real quick, you can start playing the game right away. But to be one of the best will take you your whole life. And a lot of people dedicate their lives and they never even get there. And Runeterra is very, very similar. Like you learn the rules, you start playing, and you're like, oh, I'm playing my units, okay, and I kind of can think about what they're doing, but the levels of strategy that go into whatever deck you're bringing and whatever deck they're bringing, and how those like cross against each other. When you bring all that, all of those unique interactions, and then you put them together in the way the way the game is built, in that you're passing back and forth, like the timing of it, it's like phenomenal how much crazy there is. So when you think you're like, oh yeah, I'm playing this deck good, I got this, like trust me, you could be doing a lot better. Like everyone,
even I think that all the time.
Yeah, totally. Like when you're like watching the top 32 of the seasonal, everyone's making mistakes or picking things out that they could do better, and those are the best of the best basically right now. So the game's very deep in strategy, and keep looking at your game and keep trying to improve.
Yeah, there's always going to be things you see, especially if you're watching like super high level players. Like this happened to me when I was watching the first seasonal, which I top 32'd. But I was watching it and I watched the rest of top 32, and I would see these plays and I'd be like, what? Like that's not the right play. There's no way, right? And then now that I'm a lot more comfortable in the game and I feel like my skills improved a lot, now I see why those plays are correct. I was talking to you earlier, Jason, about how I came from a very strong Magic the Gathering background. I was Pro Tour competitor, Mythic Invitational competitor, very strong. Hit rank 1 on Arena like a few times. And then I came to Runeterra, breezed my way to Masters just on knowing how card games work, essentially, right? Okay, I play my things in a mana efficient way and I attack people when I'm supposed to, right? Like easy peasy.
Yeah.
But then I hit Masters and I just fucking lost all the time. And I was like, what's happening? Like, I understand how variance works, and maybe I'm just losing because I'm unlucky, but you don't get unlucky 200 games in a row. Like, I'm clearly doing something wrong. I was hard stuck 0 LP. I was like, all right, what's going on here? So I started watching the tournaments. And these players were making plays that I just did not understand. You know,
Yeah.
they have 8 mana and it's their attack turn, and they have a good attack, and they just pass. And I'm like,
What?
what? What? That can't be right, right? So then you spend some time and maybe you visit a streamer like a strong like Kever, right? You visit Kever's stream and you ask him, hey man, why'd you pass there, right? And then he goes, oh well, actually I have to pass there because his only way back into this game is to play Twist of Fate plus pick a card this turn, and I have a challenger unit in the deck, so if I attack, I give him the out of playing Twisted Fate or whatever and possibly leveling him. And if I don't attack, he can't play Twisted Fate because I can play a challenger unit and attack him. And you're like, holy shit. Like, you know,
Mind
it's like
blown.
deep, man. Yeah, exactly. And you know, so at like that super high level, that becomes something that you just think about. But like before you even know that you're supposed to think about that kind of stuff, like how many times did you open pass on your attack phase when you could have attacked when you started playing this game?
Never.
Like probably 0 times, right?
Never. My big thinking was
Never.
like, do I open attack or do I put more guys out and then attack? That's all I thought
That was
about.
like the hardest decision I had to make, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I think that's where Runeterra gets most of its depth, is how the pass system works. Do I open? Do I develop? How do I play the previous turn so that I can set up the threat of a big open my next turn, right? And then how all these things interact with the cards in the decks and the strategies at play. I think that's where most of the depth comes from, and it's such a non-concrete like thing. You know, it's very
Fluid.
you can't you can't point at it like a big unit and say this big unit is good because it's big and it hit real hard. It's harder to explain why passing in this scenario is better than not passing, or things like that, right? It's usually a lot deeper. And I think once you start to consider your passes more, like think about whether or not like passing here is better than playing something a lot. And I think you'll see your game improve. It was a
Totally.
huge level up for me. It was like a whole new world opened up once I really understood how the pass system worked.
Yeah, I had the same sort of thing when I was getting some one-on-one lessons from Alan. And it was same thing. It was our turn. And he's like, what are you gonna do? I was like, attack. He's like, nope, just pass.
Nope.
I was like, what? I'm like, what if you just pass this back and then like we don't get to attack this turn, we don't get to deal damage? He's like, well, he's playing a Lee Sin deck, and so like he won't get to play his Lee Sin, and then like we'll just kill him over a couple turns because he does have a Lee Sin in play. And if he does play his Lee Sin, then we'll attack it, grab it, and kill it. I was like, mind blown.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is, when to attack. In Magic, you're like, you have a set time when you're going to attack. In Runeterra, it can come at any time. Maybe it's not going to come. Maybe it's going to come now. Maybe it's going to come later. Maybe I'm going to play another unit out. If you tap out a mana, now I'm going to play a unit out and I'm going to wreck you with it in various ways. Maybe I'm going to bluff. Maybe I'm going to pass to you. Maybe I do have the challenger unit in my hand. Maybe I don't. All of these things coming together all at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes the game so complex. And that's, I feel, where a lot of good players kind of get lost. I think it's a lot of things that separates the good players from the great players. Now, don't go into your games and just start open passing on all of your attack phases. That's not what I'm saying. There's a time and place, and there's just passing is a very important thing in this game. And all I'm suggesting is that you should think about it a little more critically when you're in a scenario, right?
Almost for sure, you're probably not passing enough.
No, you're not passing enough, and I guarantee you're not mulliganing enough.
Yeah, that's another
huge one.
Those are two very big things that are going to go into your win-loss percentage. Proper mulliganing, and then also timing. Those are like two huge pillars of Runeterra that that most people are kind of missing out on. That are very difficult to figure out.
They're hard. Yeah, it's very hard. It's hard to teach too. That's why so many people are missing out, I think, is that it's not the most like easy to explain topic. It's not super easy to point out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you could say passing is important, and then they go, okay, like teach me how to pass correctly. And you're like, well, I can't just like write it out for you, right?
Yeah.
It's a deep thing. And so yeah, I think a lot of players probably need to mulligan more, and they probably need to pass more. Spend some time in really, really strong players' streams or something and ask questions. Look for articles written by strong players. Like I know I think Alan puts out a bunch of articles. Agigas puts out a bunch of articles and stuff like that. And these are concepts we'll go into in depth in later episodes of the podcast when we have more time. We'll be discussing these a lot more thoroughly, probably with some examples and things like that. But for now, think harder about your mulligans and your passes.
And in our Discord, where we're going to have weekly calls and weekly learning streams. That's where we're going to go over these things. Come join us.
Discord's a great place. The Discords and learning streams are a great place because we can set up examples and things like that. And people can submit like a screenshot of like their scenario, and they say, okay, opponent passed here. Do I just take the pass back, or do you think I should attack or develop this spell? And then, we can all talk about it. And there's no like one right answer, right? Normally you take a line, and the line can be more optimal or less optimal. You're usually playing around something or into something, or trying to set up something with your lines. And so getting these different perspectives can really help. I might say, okay, actually I pass here because of this, and this reason. And then someone goes, well, actually, I think you play this because if your opponent has this line's much better. And then you can discuss which might be better in the given scenario. And that kind of discussion helps open your mind to these more like there's a term for it. It's like it's when you're thinking in a productive, more scientific way. I can't think of any. Oh my god, they use it in school all the time, but I cannot think of the name.
Reasoning? Some sort of reasoning.
Close.
But you know what you're really nailing home for me though still is like, man, this is how poker players talk about hands. Like, hey, I had aces here, this card drops on the turn, like this was what happened pre-flop and on the flop, like what do you think I should do? And they'll be like, okay, well, I think we should shove all in to make a draw, pay before the river comes. Or somebody like, no, I think we should check to them because they're like kind of aggressive and we want to trap them in and get the most money. And like there's a lot of times there's not a right or wrong. It's hard to decipher what's going to happen. There's a lot of variables.
Now, obviously after the fact you can look back at what happened and decide what was right or wrong, but that's not how you improve. You improve by taking the incomplete information and deducing what would be your most optimal play given the information that you have, right? Be it your opponent's likely deck list, what they played before, in the board state. And you take these things and you kind of put it all together. And the more practice you get at that, the more easier it becomes. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Like when you first start, learning about poker, you're kind of like, it's just, trying to play your hand. And then as you get better and better at like trying to like, okay, I think maybe they have a draw here. I think maybe they have ace king here, or maybe they have jacks, or here's a range of things. You start putting your opponents on a hand. Like they could have like these three hands are very likely, these two are a little bit less likely. So in Runeterra, you could be like, okay, I think it's very likely they have Vengeance or Withering Wail because they didn't play any creatures for the first 3 turns. So I think they have expensive units or removal in their hand. You can start deducing things like that.
And they passed here when they would have just cast Withering Wail last turn, so I can cross off Withering Wail. Those kinds of things. And range is an important concept. That's something I'll touch on a lot in further episodes. A range, by the way, if you don't know, is the amount of cards, like the possible cards your opponent is likely to have. So for poker, if your opponent raises 5 times, their range is very polarized. They probably have a very good hand, or they're trying to bluff with a very bad hand. So we'll discuss ranges a lot later.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to get into it.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
So excited. So good. All right. Well, you know what? It's been about an hour. We should probably start wrapping things up. Bay, what do you got for the people as we say goodbye to them?
Check us out on Twitch. I stream Majin Bay LOR. It's the same name as my Twitter. Jump in the Discord. And if you have any questions you want to direct at us or me particularly, at me. I'm not always at my computer, but if you at me, I'll try to take the time to respond. What you
That's
got,
right.
Jason?
Yeah, hit us up on Twitter. We're going to be posting a lot of deck lists. If you want to tag at Master Runeterra. Do we get Mastering Runeterra?
I don't remember. We'll find out.
I think it's at Master
It'll be
Runeterra.
in the-
Look for it in the description or show notes. Hit us up with your deck lists that you're doing well with. We'll retweet them. We're going to be tweeting out our own decks. Come check out the Patreon. We're building this awesome community that we're super excited of, like-minded individuals who just love Runeterra, going to hang out, learn from one another, have a good time. Come check me out also on Twitch, also /JasonFerrant. I stream every single day. About to hit 100 days in a row of streaming, going for the full 365. And I think that's about it for us today. Episode 1 in the books. All right, guys.
Crossed up.
Thank you so much for listening. Catch you next week. Bye.